Hey everyone, welcome back to the Weekly Awakening Podcast. This is your host, Cosmic Colleen, back with another weekly astrology update. Today, Wednesday 14th, Mars conjunct Jupiter at 11:21 a.m. East Coast time. Then we got tonight at 8:15 p.m. East Coast time. Remember, all the times I give you are East Coast times. We have Mercury retrograding back into Leo. On Friday the 16th, Mars in Gemini squares Saturn in Pisces, 11:30 a.m. East Coast time. Sunday, the 18th, Mercury will square Uranus. At the same time that is happening, the Sun and Mercury will be conjunct. Then on Monday, the 19th, that is next Monday, we have the full moon in Aquarius. And at the same time, Venus will square Jupiter. Venus will go opposite Saturn, and the Sun the Sun will square Uranus. It will still be in that little bit of a feel from Mercury and the Sun squaring Uranus. So needless to say, starting today until about next Tuesday is a little bit of a wonky week. Luckily, a lot of these transits are happening in mutable signs. However, it's going to be a little chaotic, especially from our mutable placements, especially for a lot of people out there. The general energy will be chaotic, fast, all over the place, and wonky. That's like another word I like to use for weird. Before I jump into those transits, though, I want to talk a little bit about Aquarius and Pluto. Look, I am so backwards. It's Mercury retrograde. Pluto in Aquarius going retrograding, and it is going to retrograde back into Capricorn. But I think you remember one of my Pluto and Aquarius episodes, I was talking about different ways, because when we looked at Pluto, we looked to a world or culture, things that are happening around us. And there's going to be a lot with Pluto and Aquarius of different ways that we're going to be policing America and the world and more advanced AI, Big Brother type of shit. And yesterday I was reading this article, and Central Park, I guess at night and stuff, is getting kind of crazy again. You know, New York City has been really good. And then since COVID, there's definitely been a lot more crime and activity than there had been throughout like the 90s to the early 2000s. So starting in 2025, they will be policing at night Central Park with drones. Isn't that crazy? They're doing like trials or whatever now, but then I think they said maybe the end, 2025. So that's next year already. Holy shit. They will be policing at night. They'll still be police there, but now they're adding drones to go through all the tiny little hidden places to watch people. And I was like, holy shit, this is just the beginning. Okay. If you remember me years ago, I made a prediction that cities, as they're getting bigger and overcrowded and overrun. And right now we are in a world where people don't really respect or really listen to authority. And I said eventually they're going to be policing major cities with a lot of issues of people not, I guess following the city rules with, oh my gosh, what are they called? Not Secret Service. Why am I forgetting what they're called? Oh, the National Guard. I made that prediction in 2020 and into 2021 when we were talking about Pluto moving into Aquarius, and that shit just started happening like 2 years ago. So welcome. And then one other thing I want to add with Pluto and Aquarius that we're going to see is somewhere in Dubai or whatever, the airport now is the first airport to start. They're going to be scanning your face. Like instead of going through security, instead of going through everything, they're going to have AI technology literally scanning your face, which is kind of freaky. And then they decide then if they're going to pull you out or let you go forward. And then I read in 2025, they're going to be starting to do that in United States airports as like a trial run. I think they might even already be starting to like set that up in certain airports. So that's kind of freaky too. Apparently it makes the line move like 15 minutes. So by the time you get there, you get to your gate within like 15 or 20 minutes. But really, I'm not a criminal. I was at one point in my life, but I'm not anymore. And it's been a long time. So I guess I don't really care if the government watches me and all those details, but it is sort of weird. So I just want to hop on and talk about that really quick. And if you guys have any other stories of other crazy like ways we're going to be policing as Pluto shifts into Aquarius and becomes very futuristic, let me know. Now, let's jump into the info that we have. So today we're waking up Mars conjunct Jupiter. Mutable signs, you guys are feeling this the most, as well as my Aries. So the general energy, for lack of a better word, this is the hard. We're gonna talk about the harder things that come with this transit. You could have been feeling it yesterday, tomorrow. So there is quick aggression, saying a lot of mean words quickly. It might be true, but maybe it's a harsh truth that others didn't necessarily need to hear or were not ready to hear. Living in sin, I love living in sin and enjoying it at the time. However, you sort of realize you have a lapse of judgment or lapse of character whenever you were kind of living in that sin and that it isn't good for you. So at first you might like it, you might really care about it, but then all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait, I am living, this isn't how I want to live. This isn't what I like to do. This does not take me down the right path. Now, for the good stuff or the better stuff about this transit, mentally changing your mindset for the better and in a very big way, maybe even in a multiple way. Bringing back meditation, prayer, sunbathing, all of those sort of things that are good for mind, body, and soul. And most likely, you're doing a little bit of all of it at once if you're immutable signs, especially my Gemini. Giving someone a fast, come to Jesus talk that cuts right to the chase, and it finally gets to them. They finally hear it. They finally understand it. Speaking, seeing the truth on multiple levels. So a lot of truth rearing. Again, this can be a tough transit just because it's Mars with Jupiter, but overall, I think it's kind of like, all right, I got to get my shit together. I got to get my mindset together. I have to stop doing this one thing. For me, what I had to stop doing for a little bit, I think, is smoking weed. If you can hear it in my voice, if you guys remember back in when was it, May, I got sick and got laryngitis. I did stop smoking weed for a few weeks, but I do love my weed and it is still killing my voice. If I smoke, this past weekend I went away, so I definitely smoked it a little bit too much and then I can't talk. So I think that mine is I'm going to have to quit totally for a little bit. I am. And because I don't want to lose my voice, I talk. My whole career is talking. I talk behind a chair. I talk here. So I'm trying to, pretty much starting today, and especially as I got on this podcast, and I've been thinking about it, but as I am hearing my voice rapture, I was like, oh shit, I have to stop doing this because my throat really needs a good healing and it needs to chill out. So that's mine for the week. So we'll check in with next week and see how my voice sounds with that. Because I literally am not sick. The only thing is my throat's irritated and I have to stop. So again, this is really going to be gaining control. Again, something you might love. When things happen in Gemini, there is that trickery. Gemini is so wonderful, but they also sometimes love to do things that maybe, well, definitely not the status quo, but maybe just not something they always should. Now, that I have a little bit of horoscopes for my mutable signs, Geminis, my Gemini placements. This one is for you. Fast, quick wit, on fire. So watch out for aggression today, tomorrow, a little bit Friday. Or rushing around and making a hurried decision this week. Definitely do not do that. And that's in general for everyone, but especially Geminis. Do not make that hurried decision. This is time for you to gain mental control over something. Like I just said, Gemini's mental control in a fast and aggressive way. Kind of, for lack of a better word, pull the bull by the horns. I love that. So my Geminis, you guys are going to be really pulling the bull by the horns and saying, shit, I'm done doing this. I'm going to definitely take care of the things I need to take care of. Virgo, taking action with the truths you've been silently, mentally dealing with. My Virgo placements, you guys are always mentally figuring things out that you necessarily don't voice out loud. You're observing, you're watching, you're studying, and usually there's a process with that before you actually initiate that truth out loud. And so now it is time for you to say those truths out loud to yourself and to the other. Don't run away from it. Speak it. Tell it how it is, and the truth will set you free. My Sag placements, this Mars-Jupiter energy is happening with with your ruling planet, Jupiter. So you might be extra scatterbrained, mentally wanting to act out, way more dramatic. Definitely find a way to get this energy physically channel this energy outside. Maybe you want to scream, maybe you want to sing, maybe you want to speak, speak those words with conviction, and maybe you just want to dance. Okay, so again, Sagittarius, you're going to feel a little bit all over the place. You also will feel like you don't want to leave, but you're kind of stuck inside, but you can't be stuck inside. You got to get out. So just trust that even if you don't feel like it, go in and just scream, go dance, do something to move that energy out. A lot of this astrology this week is like physically moving your body through these transits. Sometimes we got the transits where it's resting your body. This is going to be a lot of electrical energy this week, and you can't usually just rest that. You have to move it through you. Now, my Pisces, my little space kittens. Since this Mercury retrograde began, you are finally waking up to some of the dumb decisions you've been making, or waking up to not wanting to space out, but to come alive again. You guys get lost. You get lost in your denial. You get lost in your spacey. You get lost in some world, and then a couple months later, you wake up, and you're like, oh, okay, never mind. I don't want to do that. I want to be here, present in this moment. So probably since Mercury retrograde began in Virgo, opposite your Pisces, you started to wake up to something or just became a little bit more alert, and now your mind will be on fire. And ways to get your ass in alignment and mentally wake up and stay mentally woke in some section of your life. Now, Mercury retrogrades back into Leo tonight. Go back to last week's episode to hear a little bit about what Mercury retrograde is going to be happening. Last week, it was a lot for my mutable placements. We're really feeling it. However, now my Leos are really going to be feeling it. So for my Leos, this is going to be fine-tuning the problem now, and it's almost fixed up. Or it could just be the problem that came about, especially when we began Leo season. But this can also be a problem or a thought process that is coming full circle. So the problem that began in July, some point with like the early middle to, the beginning of August, that problem, or again, that thought process is coming full circle, and you're getting the answers or the understanding that you want. Like we said, Leo season, for my Leos, if you didn't listen, go back to listen to that episode because it's pretty deep. It has been a lot with, beginning the season with the opposition to Pluto. Then we got Venus in there. It was just a lot was happening. And you got a lot of people were really seeing their shadows, seeing shadows of the ego, seeing shadows of themselves, seeing shadows of others. And again, there was problems as well as a thought process. So all of this is going to be coming full circle while Mercury retrogrades back into Leo for the next 2 weeks. So the energy or the happenings that we are all going to go back to, like I said, especially for my Leos, there will be a point you have to fine tune the problem. And then on Monday, when the full moon happens next Monday, this is going to be a very big release for my Leos, letting go of control, letting go of that thought process, letting go of that problem because it has come full circle, but more importantly, letting it go for the ego. You don't need to focus on that anymore. You already saw it. You already felt it. You already heard it, especially after this week. So now on next Monday, you are going to release it out into the wild. Again, Mercury retrograde, and now for everyone, Mercury retrograde in Leo is a little bit different than it was in Virgo. When it's in Virgo, when it's in the mutable signs, like I said last week, things seem to, any fights, like last week I had a couple, tiffs with people that only lasted like 5 minutes and I didn't even care, afterwards. So that moved quick. Nothing seemed to be permanently broken. Conversations sort of moved quick. So it was fast, easy energy. Now, Mercury retrograde in Leo is a little bit different. We're in Leo. We're in the stubborn. We're in the fixed sign energy. We're in the sign of the ego. So things can get a little bit more ego bruised or hurt. I want to say it feels like the things that happen with Mercury retrograde in Leo may hurt a little bit more than they did in Virgo. And like I said last week, if shit happened, it blew off quickly, didn't have permanent results. In this Leo energy, there's the fights, the miscommunication, the instant changes will be more of a fixed nature. It won't be quick shifting in and out of moods. It will be more of a I'm staying in this for a little bit right now, or the problems will take a little bit longer to blow over. However, eventually this too shall pass. And finally, going after what you want energy with this, something that you've been putting off, something that you've been running from or hiding from or couldn't really gather your thoughts to really attack in a good way. You are going after what you want, especially with this full moon in Aquarius. The full moon in Aquarius, for those of you who don't know, will be going opposite all my Leo placements. So that's why we include Leo and this big full moon in Aquarius, especially for Aleko. Now, Mars squares Saturn. Sorry, I feel like with Mercury retrograde, I still get a little wonky in my messages. Mars squares Saturn. So we got Mars in Gemini, and it will be in a very close conjunction still. It will still pretty much be conjunct Jupiter. It will be in that 3 degrees. It just won't be the exact day. So Jupiter is in this, squares Saturn retrograde in Pisces. Now, Saturn retrograde, it is, there's my alarm. Saturn, let me just turn off all these alarms. I don't know if you guys are like that, but I set a million alarms in the morning, even though none of them, I wake up on the 10th one or the 5th one. I set them later because I'm paranoid or something that I'm going to sleep through my alarms, which doesn't happen because my kids wake me up anyway. So, like I had said, so I'm trying to find my place here. Now, Saturn is retrograding. So I think it will be a little more open-minded and flexible in the energy. Saturn in Pisces already is, but now that's retrograding. When planets that of a malefic nature retrograde, they tend to be a little bit more positive. So it is retrograding and it's a little more open-minded, flexible with what happens. So this can bring, because sometimes we don't like Mars square Saturn. I don't love that. I don't love when that transit happens. However, again, it's happening in the mutable signs, and my mutable energy will be feeling this the most. A big breakthrough with mentally blocked thinking, disrupting the comfort for good. And in the end, it's for the good, even if it doesn't feel that way right now. Sometimes you got to shake things up a little bit for the energy to move through it. Again, the big theme for this is going to be disrupting the comfort of our mind, okay? And the stories we tell ourselves to keep our mind comfortable. But when we stay comfortable, we often can stay stuck, and then we don't reach the greatest potential. There is a purpose to be comfortable. Comfortable is very nice. That is contentment. That is what we should all achieve. But I'm talking about that comfort that we put ourselves in because we're scared of something else, so we stay in that comfort. That is what's going to be shaking things up. For lack of a better term, my dad used to tell, I remember once asking my dad when I was maybe 10 or 11, why was there war? And he had a very kind of straight to the punch, answer to it, I guess you could say. And it's funny to think about, but there is truth to it. I mean, I'm not a war person, but he would say, you know what, Colleen? Sometimes you just need a good war to shake things up again. And it always stuck with me because it is simple. Sounds a little crazy because why would we need war? But at the same time, I guess certain times we can't shake things up until there's a bit of a war. So not a worldly war, but maybe a war within yourself, and you're going to shake yourself out of that comfort, erupt a war that will then smooth out the energy and take you to a higher level. Okay, so on Sunday, Mercury will be conjunct the sun. Mercury retrograde will be conjunct the sun, and then it will square Uranus and Taurus. So both of those planets, Mercury retrograde and the sun, will square Uranus around the same time. Now, the position changes at work that will happen fast. It's going to be one of the themes. All of a sudden, for some of you, especially my fixed placements, that's my Taurus, my Leo, my Scorpio, my Aquarius, you may have a position change at work, and all of a sudden it happens fast. Hey, actually, we're promoting you. Or we're demoting you, hopefully not demoting. We're promoting you. We're moving you over here. I need you to start doing this. There can also be delegating jobs. All of a sudden, hey, I need you to start doing this job right now. This is what you need to do. This is where you're going. And this is how things are changing. Maybe a business or company all of a sudden needs to change the way they go about something. Feeling overwhelmed by your new life position can happen. You're feeling overwhelmed by it and not sure what to do, even if it's who you wanted to do, deciding to quit something out of the blue. And it doesn't necessarily have to be work. the reason why I'm doing a lot about work is because it's with the sun and Mercury. And the sun, we look to our life path, our career choices. And so it could be, I just don't want to do this anymore out of the blue. I don't want to live here anymore. I don't want to have this character flaw anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. This job is in alignment. I don't want to join this gym anymore. I don't like, where I do parkour, anything like that, quitting something out of the blue. You didn't really see it coming, but maybe when you look back, you did see those underlining thoughts boiling up inside of you. A sudden ego trigger can happen, or acting out on an ego trigger that you didn't see coming. Maybe you thought you worked through that ego trigger. Maybe you didn't even know you had that ego trigger, and it gets triggered. However, I know that that is uncomfortable, but again, how do we grow? How do we shift? Because I'm telling you, there is so much comfort when you get to the other side of something with the ego. I always feel that way. I work on my ego. I still have so many parts of my ego I need to work on, but anytime I've mastered, honestly, a lot of ego issues I've had especially over the last 10 years, and it feels, I can't tell you, it hurts in the moment. You just sit in it, you accept it, you shut up about it, and you sit I give myself 24 hours. I go through my mind, I take it all in. It's a whole process of accepting and understanding and looking at it 100 different ways. But when I get out of that energy and then I show up in the situation again and don't have an ego trigger, I don't even care, that self-growth feels so, so good. It is worth it every time. And now when I have an ego trigger, or I'm looking at something in my ego, or, someone hurts my ego and it's an ego pain, I sit in that 24 hours of dwelling about it or processing it, but I'm not sad about it. I am so accepting of it, totally surrendering of it, because I know the beauty and freedom that comes on the other side of that. Now, now let's go back to Mercury square conjunct, Mercury retrograde conjunct the sun, shifting mental timelines. So really just totally taking over and having a brand new mental timeline. Standing your ground in arguments. This can break through some weird and stuck, conversation energy as well. Something that you were nervous to bring up to someone, something you didn't want to talk about, something you were embarrassed. This can break through where all of a sudden you just have to talk about it, and then the conversation flows. I love that too, where afterwards you're like, why did I even care about bringing this up? Why did I even bother some? So I'm loving that. Break through some weird and stuck conversation energy, and all of a sudden a hard situation makes sense, and a big mental breakthrough. So that is going to be the themes for this Sunday. Again, this week sounds a little scary. However, there's a lot of breakthroughs. And so hold on to that. When you're into that energy, hold on to the beautiful breakthrough that comes after. Now, on Monday, the full moon will be happening at... What time did I say the full moon was happening? Did I write that down? Let me go back to my notes. Oh, no, I didn't. Let me look at my calendar. The full moon will be happening at 2:25 p.m. East Coast time exactly. But we got a lot of energy in that whole day. I mean, we will start feeling it on the 18th. That's when we're going to start feeling it. Actually, maybe even the 17th, because that's when the moon moves into Aquarius and builds up to this full moon. So we'll start to feel this energy for this weekend. My Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio placements, y'all are going to feel this the most. I'm really trying to say not and I've been so aware because of it. I've come a long way with it, but on this episode, I've said it 4 times, and it just distracted me there when I said it again. I was like, damn it, Colleen, don't say that. So a full moon release of some pent up energy. Just like I said for my Leos for this past weekend's transit, 10 minutes ago, this adds into this full moon that you are going to be released. So this is a full moon that really releases pent up energy. This is going to be a moving full moon. This is not a full moon that you want to fully just stay inside your room and hide all day, because you're going to go wild inside your house. You're going to go wild inside your mind and feel very restless. So this is a full moon that you need to get out and move about. In general, this energy can feel wiry, a little bit whiny, ego testing, emotionally triggering, dramatically charged, ego ascending, beating and overcoming ego triggers. Again, like I had just said, that feel really good. This weekend, a lot for my Aquarius, my fixed placements of facing your ego. Facing the ego trigger and allowing yourself to let go and trust others. Giving someone else the wheel or taking someone else's advice, knowing that as long as that person has your best interests at heart, take their advice. Take the observations they know about you. Because yes, we have our own idea of who we are, what we like, the way we go, the way our brain works, what we do every day. And that is true, but there's something powerful. We have our own perception, but that doesn't mean that there's things that we're doing that we cannot see, because there absolutely is. And someone close to you who has your best interest at heart may have another perception. We don't always like to hear it. Another observation about you that you never saw, because you can't see yourself from the outside looking in. You only see yourself from the inside looking out. So allow that person to sort of give you their opinion, because that can be important for growth and change. It's not always easy when someone tells you something about yourself that you maybe not like to hear, because there's a lot of, like I said this week, of truth revealing. But then it gives you a whole new side to yourself and an observation. And it, maybe you want to shut it down, but chew on it for 24 hours and see if there's any truth to that. Because again, there are other versions of ourselves that only other people see of us. We can't actually see through ourselves, if that makes sense. So again, move this energy out of you. Sing it, run it, yell in the woods and scream where nobody can hear you. Swim through it, dance through it, walk it out, just move. Like I said, move, move, move. When we had the full moon in Capricorn in July, what I say then? Rest, 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 and be lazy and do nothing. The energy will not feel like that. The energy will feel like an electric current running through us, and we need to move that out of us. This full moon is getting that stuck, wiry energy that has been stuck for a while and removing it. We need that current. We need to rewire the switchboard in our mind. We are going to be really letting go, especially for my fixed placements, my Leos, really letting go of ideas, thoughts, ways of navigating life that were very ego-driven. We all have it. Again, we all have the ego. That's just a side of us. I feel like that's always pulling away from our soul. So we're going to look at those ideas, thoughts, ways of navigating life that were driven by the ego and that we were trying to control or for our own mental safety or our own mental comfort. Again, shaking things up through that comfort. And this is the time to let that go. Now, I want to say another thing that we can do to celebrate this, and then we're done with this episode. When I was in the rooms of a 12-step fellowship, my sponsor, one of the things I loved, and what a lot of people would do, and they're not just my sponsor, but a lot of people, we get stuck in a problem. So that's why I'm saying, for those of you who are stuck in a mental problem where, what I'm talking about, you're thinking about it every day. You call your friend every day, and you're talking about the same problem. And then you're calling your parents and you're talking about the same problem. And for whatever reason, you can't move through that problem. We can get so self-consumed with our problems that we're not going to find the solution because we're just in our own head about it. And when I would be doing something like that, my sponsor would say, well, have you called someone else and asked them about their problem and not said anything about yours? And believe it or not, 9 times out of 10, when I didn't do it ahead of time, eventually after a few years I would, but 9 times out of 10, I'd call a friend in the rooms, I would listen to their problems, and I would have no attachment in the moment to the current problems I was having. I would also usually gain a new perception. Sometimes I would realize that my problems aren't that big. I'm making them much bigger and much more dramatic than they truly are, because I'm listening to someone else's problems that half the time were much worse than mine. So that's what I'm saying. If you're really stuck in yourself, if you're really stuck in your ego, if you're really stuck in this problem, do for someone else. It works like a charm every freaking time. It's crazy. Call up a friend and listen to them. Go out of your way to help someone else. I mean, even go to a homeless shelter and help out people. Get out of your problem and gain a new perspective by helping someone else and fully consuming and what going on in their life to take you out of there. And I'm telling you, it shifts your mind so fast. And I added to this with the Aquarius full moon, because Aquarius full moon is helping the underdog, helping people out, finding ways to help people out, and going out of their way to listening and talking and be that sweet, gentle person for other people. So when these problems come up and nothing is working to remove, take this time, and you might even find the world, the universe lines you up with it, the planets line you up with it, that you can say, hey, in this moment, I can sit here and just talk about my stupid bullshit or the same problem I'm worried about, or I can listen and help this person, and I may gain a totally new perspective and let go of my problem just through doing that. So, lots of energy this week. Move through it. The following week, after the full moon, it's actually a pretty calm week for another 5 days. I am going away. I'm taking my kids and my kid's father. We're going up to the Finger Lakes, Lake Seneca, which we did last year. So we're going up there again. And then we start school. So I'm excited. I hope that everyone has a beautiful full moon releasing week. The energy, like I said, will be chaotic a little bit, intense, wiry, all of these transits this week. So move your body. Move your mind, try to do things that take you out of yourself, and try to stay calm. And I say that because, again, it's going to be like electric currents going through us this week. Stay calm, but the way to finding that calm energy is through moving. Move this fucking week, motherfuckers. Move. I love you all. Thank you for listening and sharing and completing. You guys are doing this. You're getting this podcast out there through sharing it with others, sharing on social media, all the things you do. I love and appreciate you guys so much. Have a great week and a happy full moon.